did you all come from? Evening. I probably wondered what I was doing, but I couldn't see the Zoom screen. Suddenly you're all here. Good evening, everybody. How are we doing? Just sharing that across to Facebook. I'm taking no chances tonight. I'm going to put belt and braces, everything. Let me just check on that. Looks about okay. Yeah. Just trying to rig it up so we can do some camera down shots, which is another technological advancement for me. So fingers crossed. Let me also pop out the. Hi there, Dulce. How are you doing? Hello, hello, hello. Hi, Daniel. First time this time after last night's interesting evening packed with lives, but we got there. Hi, Hayley. Hi there. How are you doing? Right, and I'll just get the. Oops. Oh, that is the chat. I see it. Hang on. There we go. Just check who's in. Marvelous. I think we are good in the group. Yes, it's my backup plan. Hi, Paula. It's over there watching the coast clear. Because I'm using my phone for this, I'm just going to come back into Zoom. I will try and look across at the browser there. I realise I can actually check in the questions there. But I'll do my best. Sometimes I just get into full flow and forget to look across there, and it's easily done. A bit like forgetting to press record. You just off you go and realise later. Okay, so here we are, day 4. Just double checking, because I'm nervous that I'm going to get to the end. This is going to be a longer session, I imagine. There's quite a lot that I wanted to get through, and I want to have plenty of space for you to ask questions and you know, share any worries, any hang-ups, whatever, because I know this is the part where, you know, it feels a bit blue sky before and you can play around, but now suddenly you've got to apply it and transform the inspiration into something tangible. And I think that's the bit that, you know, some people might find more difficult than the other stages. So, and I've seen some stuff appearing already, which is brilliant, really exciting. And it's lovely to see that people are doing it in their own different ways as well. That's absolutely brilliant. And hopefully that will give, you know, other people ideas. I've obviously suggested a way that I find useful that gets you away from that perfectionist thing of sort of trying to make it absolutely dead on nailed final design in one go and then going, it's rubbish, and then not being able to do any more. So the contact sort of sheet style is an idea that helps me sort of play and try out, you know, scribbles and just let go a bit, because I think that's what you need to do, to those happy mistakes where you can, happy accidents of things that sort of collide together and you think, wow. I mean, obviously some people are going to have some very specific designs they want to do, and that's good also. I was just seeing some in the group there where you know, and it's quite directional, so that's easy, but where people are trying to sort of combine elements, it's good to play. So that idea of the photographs, printing them out, now it doesn't always work. I know some people are saying that their colors don't show up, and there's definitely, you know, different ways of doing it. Another thing you could do is to trace over your photo and then replicate that over and over again, so that you've got a sort of a lighter image, and maybe pick out some of the details so that you've still got them there. What I've done over time is I've actually started to go towards things that I can paint over the top with, which is maybe actually the actual paint, the paint itself, which has obviously got a lot more opacity to it than some colour pencils, for example. But that's why I lightened my image a little bit to try and give me a background to work on. And then I've also got things like paint pens, which sort of show up a little bit better, which I'm going to try and use. I've got metallic ones because that's what my design is. So I'm hoping that's going to help me out a little bit. But I also do have things like these is the actual paints, the metallic paints that I probably won't be doing that tonight because it's a little bit fiddly. But I'll play around a little bit on the fly and see how we get on. Double check, keep an eye on questions and etc. All good. Okay, yeah, so I was saying about printing out on your contact sheet, and one of the reasons was obviously you get the right proportions. You're designing for the actual piece, but yeah, it also gets you past that perfectionism, like I was saying, and it can sort of help get you going. So one of the things I said in the task today, but it's not the only way to go about it, as I was sort of reflecting on it coming into tonight, and I said start with the things you do know. But obviously, you know, like you might say, right, I definitely do know I want the legs to be black, or I want the sides to be this colour, I want da-da-da. And you could do that, and then you can get a better view of it because it starts to change. Or you might do a coloured wash over it that gives you that, you know, I used my little sort of artist paint for that. You can put a coloured wash over it or a coloured pencil, so you can start to see it changing colour. I'll come on to like graphics packages for that sort of in a bit, because not everybody's going to feel comfortable to get into that. And I want to. So I'll start with the sort of the sort of easier stuff, which is the doing it sort of practically. Yeah, so starting with the things you know can give you, just gets you going. It just gives you, you know, instead of looking at it and going, where do I go? It just moves you forward. But you could just start to doodle. So I was saying in the task today, so I'll go into mine, thing and show you my design board as it is now, a draft design board, because it's not as pretty as some of yours, it has to be said, but I've probably had less time to spend on it. And you could start to look and pull out sort of motifs and shapes and things that sort of catch your eye, and sort of try to sort of putting those onto the images, which I will do. Sometimes, yeah, that just honestly, that's sort of scribbling approach. But then that's where I'll do a bit of practical stuff, and then, you know, see what people are saying, seeing if it's got any sort of what's popping in your head. Is it your head's going, oh, I can't do that, I don't know what to do, I don't know where to start, sort of things. I'd like to know what sort of, I'd like to know what's, you know, if anything's blocking you, or you're finding it difficult, can you know, share that, so we can chat about it as well, because it's, you know, some people are sort of cracking on, but I don't want you to feel like, you know, you're not going to get the sort of the help and the cheerleading to get you going as well. Let me just check the questions. Exercise. Yeah, Dulcie's just asking about decoupage, and would I still do the paper exercise because you found it hard to do? Yeah, it's slightly harder, and obviously thinking about yours, dirty painty hands, which is the dark blue with the carve on it, I think. I would probably just approximate it with, you know, colour and splodges, but that's where when I come onto the graphics package, you might be able to do something with that, but it might just be sort of giving it an idea of it. But I tend to use Photoshop and actually get a sample of the wallpaper and almost like wallpaper a piece. I'll show you one actually, because I've got one set aside to show you. But I also had a go at it in Canva today, because I noticed some people were designing in Canva. It's got limitations, but you might find it quite useful. And I managed to actually get a sample sort of overlay to have a little go at it like that. So that might help you actually, because yeah, just being able to draw your wallpaper perfectly is obviously going to be a bit tricky. So yes, good question. So what am I going to do next? It's a bit sort of freestyle. So I just wanted to show you actually. I think we'll show you a couple of little sort of previous. Actually, this is one I've done just to give you a view on it. It's not perfect. So this was a project. Yes, I can see actually. What a dickhead. You won't be able to see when I'm drawing by me holding stuff up though. Where I had like all of these, and I said this is where I started doing contact sheets. So this is a good couple of years ago. But I was saying this is the scheme that I don't particularly like. And I've actually used the paint and just drawn it out. It is a bit harder holding it up than just lying it down flat, because and you can see I've just been going through trying to work out to the brief what they wanted, trying to fit these things in, and getting very messy. But it let me work my ideas out. And you know, although there's a bit of an extreme amount here, and that's why doing it small is quite good, because obviously the time it took to complete each one, I could have tossed it aside. And what I don't do is scrumple them up or scribble them out, is because there might be one little element in there that I think, oh yeah, I like the way those two lines are coming together. I'm going to take that on to the next one. So that's why also having a contact sheet side by side is quite good, because you can look back a bit easier than that, which I did do on, you won't be able to see this one too well ish. Can't really see the colours here. I have to remember them back to front. So it's got a little bit of the lattice that's kind of starting to, I can't point because it's back to front, starting to get some sort of nice patterns going. And so I was working across them all, like set out, and just saying it's actually a wardrobe and a chest of drawers, like a sideboardy thing, and a mirror that had the pattern on. So it yeah, it helped me work out what I was doing like that. But what I was saying is also, if you don't want to work on the piece of furniture, you can literally just draw stuff out like that. That's a sideboard that I actually did just recently for one of my courses, and I just, you know, just drew the shape out, or even like just playing around with patterns like this, so I can get my angles and just see which ones kind of work. So doodling, scribbling around with ideas, and then trying them out on your furniture. It's like there's different ways of doing it. Some people are being very methodical and doing it in a practice package, and you know, there's more than one way to do these things. So, right, normal. My design, not very cool, not very exciting, and it's beautiful. I didn't mean to go full screen there, but anyway, we have. Yeah, I've just sort of tidied it up a little bit, but it's enough for me to work from. This is not supposed to be presented to anybody. That's what I would do afterwards. And to be honest, I really only present people the actual design of the piece of furniture. I don't present them with a mood board or design board at the end, really. Sometimes, but usually we'll sort of sort out the handles and stuff like that later. So it just tends to be the actual masking tape design itself. So I'm going to have that in front of me while I'm working, and sort of just looking back to it really. Let's try and move the camera down. You know, you've got things sort of like organized and then they go to pot. My furniture pictures. It's completely thrown me. I've lost my oh, they're right behind me. There we go. Right, let me just go and just double check with everybody, because yeah. Okay, Helen's asking what is the contact sheet. Yes, we can. You can just see a black screen. Well, that was only. What are you asking about a copy of? Sorry, can I just, you can only see me. Somebody talk to me, so I know what, I just need to know what I'm all right. Because obviously the Q&As aren't related to the where I'm at the moment. All right, okay. I think I've lost the plot, that's why. Okay, all right, thank you. Just go off and have a meltdown. Okay, I'm going to try and do this if I can. I don't know what else it's going to show, because wasn't planning to do it that way. And I'm just going to go. So this is the contact sheet for whoever was asking. Is that what you were asking? That's just and I've printed out 9. I can just briefly show you actually how to do that if that's something that's a bit confusing. I'll go back to sharing the screen. I'm just going to go to the downloads. When it There we go. And then I've actually had to put mine into black and white because I'm a Wally and I don't have any colour in my printer, but black and white is fine, but it was printing out anything else a funny colour, so I've just changed my image. But you just want to send it to printers black and white, to print. And then from here I can just choose one of the other options. So I chose, it's not strictly a contact sheet, it's called a wallet here, but the contact sheet's probably a wee bit small for drawing on because it says 35 versions of it. So I just did that, there we go, and then printed that just on regular paper. Okay, so I'm going to literally just start to draw, and I sometimes start with black first just to get my ideas going, and I would just be going over the top of it, and I've got grain going down, and I do want to try and get my angles the same as the grain, so I might start with my lines going down to the middle, but I also have that influence of the other one that goes sort of like this and down. I'm trying to remember exactly how it goes, but I haven't got the picture in front of me. I can't look at it at the same time, you know what I mean? And it's got the little broken things. Whoops, that went a bit off. But to be honest, you might have seen some of the stuff I've shown you just now. It is a bit scribbly and a bit doodly. I'm not trying to get this perfect at this point. It's just trying out ideas. And I think I might even need to try and get the center point here to make sure those balance properly. I wish I'd got a side view because I'm thinking I want to basically, I'll show you where I was having a little doodle in here in my jotter when I was doing notes the other night. I started to do that sort of zigzag shape, and then maybe the bottom half would just be painted and the top half would just be wood, and just have it graduated with some different colours in the chevron. So there's ideas floating about, so I just want to try them out. So I'll probably, oops, let's get rid of that. Yeah, just starting to put some of the lines in and get a feel for it, but then I might do something different down here on the drawer. So it is just about playing around, and then if I decide I don't like it, I'll just move on to another one. But that's why I wanted colours for mine, because I wanted to see what they would be like. They're quite thick, aren't they? They would be like if I just did and it doesn't even need to be precisely perfect what you end up doing. It does give an overall feel of it, because I kind of like the idea of coming down. You can't really see that, can you? But I'm kind of like the idea of coming down in different colours with that sort of broken. So I'll either go to the centre or I'll come across like this. So it's just about playing about, really, and messing about on your drawings and then keeping on going. And I might find something I like that I'll sort of take forward. But yeah, I'm thinking about doing the colours of the rainbow going up. And then I want to put things like, obviously I can go in and put the black in on my feet. So this is obviously quite rudimentary, but by the end of it, you do get quite a good sense of what your piece might look like if I did my edges black, which I might not actually do on this. I might, because I usually, that's my standard, is to do that the cabinet in. But what I might do on this one is actually, like I said, I might do this bottom bit like dark sort of thing, you know what I mean? So I'm just playing around with it, really. And so I'll have a load of those, but eventually I can sort of start to spend a bit more time on them. Nothing much more complicated than that, really. Like I said, if these don't show up too well, I might actually use the specific paints on there as well. Oh gosh, what happened? Checking in with you. Sorry, one of the neighbourhood dogs is barking, which always sets mine off. But yeah, just ask any questions about that sort of thing. If that's something you're struggling with, I'll just go into some of the graphics package as well, because you might find that easy to play with instead of having to do it freehand. You might find it easy to work with some shapes, some geometric elements. You can drag them on. That might help you a little bit. Where am I going now? It doesn't annoy me. People leave their dogs outside just to bark, and then obviously chain reaction. You can see me and Canva. I'm just checking it's all gone horrendously wrong. Well, it's all gone fairly smoothly until last night up to now, so I'm just going to go, hey ho. We're here, aren't we? Still. You might shut up. Yeah, so I'm going to play around with those things. And now this particular stage, I would say, is the one that you usually have the radio on all the time. That's how I avoid this happening, but I can't, and I can only talk so loudly. This is the stage that could be the stretchy stage where you spend a bit longer on it because you're working through your ideas. So don't get frustrated if it's not ready for tomorrow. Mine might not be either. It's an evolution. So, you know, play around. It is quite good to sort of like some of the guys have done to, like, to churn out a few, and if they're polished, fine, but I don't end up with polished. I end up with, and sometimes I design from just this. I'll show you something. Which is, oh gosh, it's very shrill. That's the other thing. I'm sorry if that gets at your end as well. This piece of furniture here, you might recognise. It's not a terribly good photograph, I have to say. I don't think I ever bothered editing it, and my backdrop was a bit wrinkled. But that, oops, you might recognise from the half and half shot. I didn't actually do a piece of furniture half and half, although somebody said they thought that I should have done. That's obviously before and after. This was the design. This is all I ended up doing for it. It was quite rudimentary. It wasn't for a client. It was one that I designed on a course, and that's all I did for that, really, to sort of intimate what I was going to do on the finish thing. So don't worry, each stage, like I said, you can interpret yourself, but if it gets you towards something you could then go and apply, that's brilliant. Doesn't need to be, you know, the best, most polished thing at the end. The idea is that you get to a point where you've got an idea of what your design is going to be. So I sort of take that pressure off. So I'll show you the other graphics tools. I'm just checking on the questions again. Yeah, oh, that would have been so nice if those little things worked instead of throwing them out here. Yeah, the other thing was just to reconfirm what somebody brought up. We mentioned a few points yesterday actually about today, which is don't worry about the how. I think again we're saying that with Jennifer in the group today. Yeah, we'll think about the how next. And I'll hopefully be able to help you with it a bit on Monday in the extra session if you make it. I hope you can come along to talk about the practical side of, right, how are you going to go about applying that? You know, how are you going to make that work? So let's think about that later, and don't let that get in the way of the creative process. Just wanted to add Affinity Photo as a software alternative to Photoshop. It's inexpensive, it's a one-off fee, and it works out pretty much the same. Excellent. Okay. There is another one called GIMP, I think, which is like Photoshop, but it's free as well. But after you've spent time mastering one, I didn't really fancy finding my way around another one. So there is more than one tool. I think there's another Apple one out there that a lady on one of my courses used, but I can't remember what it is because I'm not an Apple user. So let's look at a little bit of Canva, because there's a few things you can do in there which might get you going and off the blocks if you feel uncomfortable drawing by hand. I've seen some beautifully created things in the group, so I know some people are absolutely fine, but we're just oops. So Canva, yeah, so I had a little look at it myself. It's a bit fiddly, but oh, there you go. I've just brought my piece in. I don't know if you know, there is actually up here, once you bring a photograph in, so you could do, you've got a background remover. I forgot to show you the other night, actually, when I was showing you Photoshop Mix. So you could, you can do create a design, bring a photo in, just got a bit slow. Start with an image, bring a photo in, and then it will take the background off for you. Obviously, I've already done that, and then I've made the background black. Yeah, so I started putting some lines in using the elements over here, because obviously that's what I'm working with here, but the elements also feature shapes, so you can start to drag those over and change the color, and just generally, there's lots of elements in there. Obviously, maybe not some of the clip art, but you could start to play around with stuff like that. if you don't, and especially with circles, you perhaps don't want to be drawing them freehand. That seems to be now an ellipsis, but anyway, let's just delete that. Yeah, so the lines I drew on, it's a bit weird because you don't draw them, they appear and then you have to manipulate them around. And so I think getting more lined up, this could be really fiddly, but it was interesting to see that it worked. And, this could get you started if you wanted. Like I say, there's lots of other shapes in here that you could play with. And then you can just come up here and change the colours. So I don't know what colour that would be, but whatever, change the colours and then change the thickness. What you can't do, similar with Photoshop, is you can't easily create sort of mitered edges on you so that you can make an angle. They're a bit sort of just straight line-ish, which is a bit chunky looking. I found ways around it in Photoshop, but you're probably better off with something like Illustrator, I think, to get a really nice chevron. It's been a bit of a bugbear of mine. You're kind of like trying to overlap them and make them look right. But anyway, that could be a tool that you find could get you going, because you can obviously put the shapes on and drag them around. And somebody was saying they didn't know how to get the Canva thing out. It's there's a download option on the top there, just while I'm passing by. What was the other thing? Oh yeah, you can also import other bits in here as well. So what did I do? Oh, it's down here. Forgot what it was. I was trying to change the colours. So if you want to paint your piece effectively, it's not that flexible in here. So I just clicked on it and then did effects, or filter, was it? No, adjust maybe. Yeah, and tried to change the tints on it, but it didn't give me too much of a colour change. So it might need to be not as dark as this. But I did manage to put some little bits of paper on. So you just have to watch your scale. So know the dimensions of your piece, the height of each bit, and make sure you look at the pattern repeat on the wallpaper so that you get the right repetition down your piece. Obviously, for yourself, you don't. But if you're showing it to somebody and they thought they were going to get, masses and masses of pattern, but it's a big pattern and it perhaps wouldn't repeat as much. You just need to make sure that you've got it to scale, basically, is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, I have to do that by eye, basically, a lot of the time. Or as I say, go on the website, find out the pattern repeat and measure your piece of furniture and make sure it's about the same. So I've just imported those as pictures and added them on. So it does say if that might be a way you could do a bit of ad hoc decoupage just on your piece. And obviously you can take it a step further and start like putting your handles on and etc. It's just a bit more difficult to manipulate the color here. So that's why I use something like Photoshop, which this is the decoupage in Photoshop, and you can fit it a little bit more. I can use the skew and the distort tools to actually sort of shape it to fit a bit better. And again, I've got to watch the pattern repeat on there. But I can then obviously overlay. I can highlight and overlay and change some of the areas of the picture to make it look like it's painted. You can see me in the mirror there. So it's not perfect, but when people see it presented like so, they can visualize their piece of furniture. So it works, it does the job. Here's the progression of a piece of furniture design through Photoshop. This is how I'd normally do it. This one's actually been stripped, and we stripped it to find out what nice wood grain it had, and then found out it didn't. It wasn't very exciting at all, and even less so than the one I've got now. Similar piece, but just taller. So I started playing around. The brief was very complicated. Was not too much paint, not too much wood on show, not too busy, which was and I don't want to paint it plain because that seems it's not really my style, and you just lose the natural attractiveness of the piece, or the natural attributes, I should say. So I started playing around with the designs again because of those diagonals going down, and me and my chevrons, I know. And I like to work with the shape of the piece to be symmetrical. I like all my angles to be the same. I think it's more pleasing on the eye, but that's personal taste. So I started to, this was looking at how we could cover up some of that grain at the bottom that wasn't very exciting and just feature the top stuff so that we've got the lines coming down. And these I can actually turn these lines on and off, which is, that's turning off the paint at the bottom. And so the idea is that we're going to graduate down the piece with more and more paint, so it eventually sort of looks a bit blended. So that's and that's it with it sort of painted. So I often design directly in here like that, but I'm going to do this, obviously this one here by hand. If I wanted to at the end, I could then make it into a Photoshop image. But yeah, these are quite easy to sort of, oh, she says getting hold of the wrong thing, to manipulate, because it all sits in like a load of layers on the left hand side, right hand side there, so you can literally turn things off, put them back on again, change the colours, move them around. A bit like moving on to your next drawing on the contact sheet. So yeah, so it's a bit easier to play. I can totally change the colour in one click. So a couple of different options there to play with. What was the one that somebody just said then to be checking out as well? Let me just go into the chat. Oh, stop sharing. Can't forget you can see all that. Affinity photo. Okay, I've not heard of that one before. I assume that's available to everybody on. I keep putting my glasses the wrong way around. I need a drink. Excellent. We'll have to look into that. That's brilliant. Really? I don't have Canva Pro. Or I don't think I do. I'll have to double check that. Yeah, so there's more than one way to skin a cat. I do want to hear from people if they're getting stuck, if they're feeling I can't do it, or I don't know what to do. I do want to hear from you. Don't disappear. Don't go quiet on me, because that's kind of probably the main reason for the whole challenge is to get past that point. So I want to sort of help you with any quibbles you've got about creativity and can you do it? Maybe it's changed. I don't know. We'll have to have a look. Canva's a bit sneaky. I've got about 4 different accounts that I log in if you go through Facebook or Google or whatever. And I seem to have picked up subscriptions here or there, and then I've had to go and cancel them. So I'll double check that afterwards just to make sure. I would say the idea, though, really is to, if anybody's who's struggling, is make a start somehow, like we did with the thingy board, the inspiration board, is a jumping off point. So like what I said, if you can put something down that you do know and start working from there, and don't be afraid to make mistakes and keep going. Mistakes aren't mistakes. I keep saying the design development, but I think that's the thing about being creative. You've got to be prepared for it to look a bit crap. And most mine do. But those little things, interplays of what you're doing, are where ideas come. So you've got to sort of scribble and make mistakes, and I think that's just part of the process. If you get really stuck and really frustrated and you've got down a thing and you've got maybe too many things in front of you, it's just to walk away and come back to it. But I think that evolution, you've got to kind of relax and go with it a bit. And it's like the quote that I put up on my Instagram about the box of crayons. I think you've just got to grab your crayons and be prepared to be a bit silly and go for it, and get rid of the perfectionist that's trying to go, what's it going to look like finished, and it's got to be the best design ever, which I still do to myself. But I think done is better than perfect. So done is better than perfect. So let's say it doesn't have to be perfect. It's the first one. It's not going to be perfect. It's going to be imperfect. So let's just get something down and play around and get out of ourselves, get out of our own way, and thinking that we're not creative, and have a bit of sort of fun with it. Let me see what people are saying. Nothing at the moment. Let's just go in the Q&A. No. Oh, I better check in on Facebook, which I can do on my phone now. Just check in with everybody there. Bear with me. Just throw anything in that you might want to. Oh yeah, I've got some other bits and bobs too. Sorry, find the group. Oh, we've got a few comments over there. Bear with me. Jennifer's like, half an hour ago, she usually checks in for questions. I'm like, yeah. Oh, I'm being chastised. We did have a bit of a problem though. Right. Let me just catch up with. Sorry, just reading the conversation what people are having about me. Any questions? Any questions? No, I don't think so. I can't see any question. I think it's just a bit of confusion naturally because of what's going on over here. So I do want to hear from people if they're having issues, and I think finally have somebody speaking up because I know it's not that easy. Carrie is saying you struggled to get going because you're trying to think about a theme in your office and let yourself get bogged down by that rather than thinking about one piece of furniture. You're thinking about the overall thing. Had an epiphany, so lots to catch up on. How do you assess go about a piece, assessing a piece within a room that's in development? There's no hard and fast rule. I would say that some of my clients, they're going to actually do the room around the piece of furniture. So but something's got to come first to some extent. So you need to make some decisions on one side or the other in order to move it forward. So yeah, probably you are overwhelming yourself by trying to do all the bits at once. So it's perhaps picking the most important thing. Is it, is there some wallpaper you want to use? Is there a feature wall in the room? Is there, some fabric you want to use? Have you got a new sofa? Start with something and break it down. But yeah, I think by trying to design them all at the same time, I would get stuck. I struggle with blank canvas anyway, so that's why furniture works for me, because it's already got features that I try and work with, sort of going with what I've got to play with. So yeah, you're giving yourself a lot there. So you can either let the furniture dictate the room if it's going to be a statement piece, and then you can let the things in it reflect in the room, like the colours and the stars say deco. You can stretch that out. Yeah, I think it's got to be sort of one or the other at this point. But the thing to do is perhaps just go and create an inspiration board for the whole scheme, and then try and go down one track. That might work. Let me just see. Share most recent. One thing to say, I wanted to bring up around authenticity, and I've talked about as we've gone through designing authentically and coming up with your own style, which is why I sort of suggest bringing in more inspiration outside of just pieces of furniture that you like, which is obviously very inspiring. I think we'll find what people are up to design-wise with furniture at the moment is really inspiring. It's really creative, but bringing other influences, whether it's something personal, whether it's something you've seen on holiday that you like, like a design, or whether it's something you've looked at on a Pinterest board, bringing that in so that you're processing it and what you're creating is an amalgamation of the things you're inspired by rather than a replication. Because obviously things are designed by people. We don't want to be sort of doing it direct. It needs to be, I always think of it like with a bit of a twist. So don't take a sort of something wholesale, is sort of take an influence essentially. And then it becomes an individual design rather than, and that's authentic. It doesn't have to be original. It doesn't have to be original because there's nothing really that new in the world. There's just new interpretations of it. So, don't sort of say to yourself, I can't do it because somebody else did it, but just bring something different to it so that it breathes some life into it, because it's authentic because you're doing it. So just, change the color a little bit, change the style a little bit, change how it interplays, but rather than sort of doing it, verbatim exactly as you see it. So that's all I would say. As a designer, I would hope that people would do that as well. It's lovely to influence, but sort of absorb that and shake it up and mix it about a bit. Let me just see. Somebody's offering to help me with my IT. I need somebody to come and run that whole thing. I haven't done any furniture for nearly a month because I've been so busy doing email workflows and creating all this sort of thing. So it's yeah, one's doing one's best, but yeah, I apologize, it wasn't quite as slick as I'd planned it to be. Let me just check if there's any questions here. Yeah, let me see if there's any more images that I wanted to show you. There's just more stuff in Photoshop, really. I don't know if anybody wants to see anything like that, any more sort of designs and stuff like that. I think I've given you a bit of a view of it, and if you're not going to dazzle myself with that, be looking at doing it yourself. Joe says, I get caught up worrying whether the design is possible to achieve rather than do a design that you end up loving and then can't recreate. Yeah, no, I can understand that. Again, it's glaring in my face. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's where, yeah, you need to kind of back off from that a little bit. And then if I can help you sort of figure it out, I will. But, you know, sometimes sometimes you get to that point and then you can simplify. You know, I've done designs where I've gone dee with all these lines in Photoshop, and then I thought, whoa, what have I done to myself? That's going to take me hours. And some of them have taken me hours. I think one of them took me 11 hours. But you can always simplify. But yeah, you don't want to lose that creative spark over, is it possible? I'd always like think to myself, how do I make it possible? But that's me. I'm a bit bloody minded like that. But I think you have to be. I think you do have to, you know, keep going. I think it's the same with the design. It's pushing past thinking this is rubbish and I can't do it, and I don't know if I can make this. There's just focusing on creating something that, because when I'm doing stuff and putting shapes together and lines together, it just, you get like a little bit of a reaction. I'm like, oh, that looks good. And that's that. I think that's what you're seeking over something that you've worked out that you can do it, because that would actually hold you back from trying anything new, wouldn't it? Because you, especially if you've not done any of this sort of work before. Yeah, it's just a question of playing around, I guess, a bit, or pretending you're going to come and get me to do it and I'd figure it out somehow. You'd like to see some more design examples? So let me do these are Photoshop ones. I don't think I've got any more drawn ones that are easy to share. Yeah, so this is a Photoshop. I realised that I should have perhaps changed the shape of this one a little bit when I've taken pictures. It looks a bit narrower than it actually is at the bottom, but that's done through Photoshop. That's using layers just to cut away and reveal. I mean, what you don't get is the freshness of the wood when it would be stripped, because obviously it's a photograph over the old finish of the wood. So that's what you're seeing here is as it was, and it obviously looks a bit nicer in reality, but it gives a really good idea. As I said, this one's obviously shot a little bit more level, like we were doing with our photography, so it doesn't taper quite as much at the bottom, but that's the design sort of in reality. So the wood's a bit fresher and not as that sort of toffee coloured, I call it, when it goes really old. Yeah, and that was really a useful way to be able to do it, because I could actually go in and change these colours and play around with them. And I gave them about 4 different versions in the end till we got the balance right, because it started to look a bit too much like Pringles socks because of the diamonds. So this is a very simple one that worked very well and might work with some of the other graphics packages as well, where I just took a picture. This is in my studio before it had anything in it, at the beginning of lockdown, and I've already gone in and changed the legs to black there, and then this is the sideboard that, as this is the design, this is not it finished, but it's pretty realistic looking, and I've just gone in over the top of that. I've actually, with the handles, I tend to go round them, cut them out, change the color, and then go through and then paste them back over the top, so that you get that interpretation of them being changed from the wood of the previous one. But it lets you play around with different things. You can keep adding more and more to it, and then taking things away, which is quite nice. Obviously, when you're drawing, you can't do that quite so much. This is where Photoshop really comes into its own, when I'm playing with lines and can give the client far too many options, basically, with a basic structure, but you can keep going again and again and again, just trying out all the angles, which is great fun. You could do that quite easily on a printout with a gold pen, like I did with that other one there. You could sit and just draw over the top of it with a pen to get those metallic lines. I think that's all I managed to pull together there. Right. Have we got any other questions? This is the bit where it's a bit more, you know, intangible. It's sort of going away and working through it. So it might be that you come to tomorrow or even over the weekend, because that's why I've put the sort of submission date, if you want to be in a chance to get one of the prizes, of next Friday, because I just wanted to give you a chance to play. So there's 5 sections to this chat in front of my face, to this challenge. So tomorrow's about sort of bringing those things together, but of course you might need to spend a bit longer at this stage sort of trying your ideas out, and that's only natural, isn't it, really, especially if you're just doing this stuff for the first time. Yeah, so let's have a little look. Will I finish the piece by the end of the week? What, the design? Who knows? Who knows? It's possibly. I might have it done as much as that previous design I showed you, where I've just drawn over the top, and it's close enough to give me a guide of where I'm going, but it might not have every single precise line, you know. That one was sort of done with gold pen and black, and it gave you that impression of the design, that kind of thing, very possibly. Rendering it up into Photoshop and making it, sometimes I don't bother doing that because it's not for a client, so, you know, it depends if I go all that way to it. But if I feel clear in my mind about what I'm going to set off to do to apply to the piece, then that's enough for me to sit in front of the piece and start to do it, because that's really what we're aiming for, is to have that design ready to go to do. In terms of having it ready to present, maybe not. In terms of before tomorrow night, no, I don't know. Ask in the group, yeah, if you need any help if you're stuck. Yeah, and we'll be back tomorrow night, so I can certainly take any questions about this if you've spent, you know, you've waited till tonight to even start. Is there anything that you need me to clarify about getting started? Sometimes it's just a case of going away and having a go, and then you can maybe ask the questions tomorrow night. But this one's a bit more nebulous. It's, you know, it's just giving you different ways of getting started, but you have to get over that sort of mindset of like, I'm not very creative. It's like, we're all creative. I honestly believe we're all creative. Human beings are creative, and it's problem solving, it's just playing, and it's just you know, it's give yourself permission to play, get the pens and whatever out, give it a go, and then I can answer some questions tomorrow. So what I'll talk tomorrow is just, it could just be a nice way of wrapping things up, but I will get mine into a state where I can sort of talk to you about how I put things together at the end, and see how everybody is and see how everybody feels at the end of the week. Yeah, it'd be great if you ask the questions in the group, because they generally, what I find with these courses is that it helps other people. Some people don't feel comfortable speaking up and posting, and they might be sitting there thinking, oh, I don't want to say this in front of everybody, and somebody else asks it, and then they feel reassured that they're not the only one. And also, yeah, I would be a bit deluged because my emails are already a bit overloaded. So let me just check back to the group, because very nice, Donna. The design she just put in the group. Have a look. Hopefully what people are sharing will really help those who haven't started yet and might be a bit sort of I know some of them are very, very slick. Don't be put off. You know, there's a good range in here of people doing things different ways. So there's something for everyone. I can't find the blooming live now just to even look for the questions. Ah, right, okay. This is where you maybe need to scribble, Daniel, if you've got the picture in your head. I know people will feel like, right, I can visualize it, but perhaps maybe the drawing of it is the hard bit. But if you've got a clear idea in your head, do you think that might mean, having gone through that process, you've got a clear idea that you can actually start to maybe apply it? Maybe you could just talk through the process of applying it. Maybe you don't need a visual of it. That's another way of looking at it, because it's just all routes to this same destination, isn't it? Really different ways of getting there. I wish you lots of creative fun with your box of crayons, and just shout out if you feel you need a bit of a pep talk, or cheerleading, or just a talking to, just to tell you that you can do it, because I can do it, you can do it.